If you're trying to tell your story to the world, MailChimp can help for free. They've got these gorgeous pre-designed email templates. You can also just make your own. And I use MailChimp. I have for many years. It's so easy. Even I can't mess it up. And I mess things like this up all the time. MailChimp shows you how to send, when you should send, why people open an email, or why they click delete. They'll help you find your people, grow your business. MailChimp, they can help you tell your story effectively and find people who care about it. More at MailChimp.com. Mack Weldon, I'm being straight up with you. It's better than whatever you're wearing right now. And it's a great gift for the holidays. You're looking for a last-minute gift, Mack Weldon. They got you covered, baby. They believe in smart design, premium fabrics, simple shopping. I wear them. I wear them all the time. I feel great in them. I'm wearing Mack Weldon right now. You look good. You feel good. They're comfortable. Not just underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, sweatpants. The silver underwear line, antimicrobial, doesn't smell. And they want you to be comfortable. So if you don't like your first pair, you keep it. They'll still refund you. No questions asked. Respectful business. Not only do they look good, Mack Weldon's, they perform well too. Go play sports. Go on dates. You feel good about yourself. Everyday life. Go to MackWeldon.com. Get 20% off using promo code BEAUTIFUL. Hello, everybody out there with your long hair up in a bun. It's Beautiful Anonymous. It's 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hey guys, welcome to another Beautiful Anonymous. This is Chris Gethard. This intro might be a little longer than the ones you're used to, because I want to take some time to let you guys know that I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who calls into this show, and I appreciate all this stuff I see online, all the chatter. I read it, I follow it, because I'm very interested, because it is a conversation between me and a person on the phone, each individual episode. And then there's also conversations that surround those. I go to the Earwolf message boards. I read your reactions on the Earwolf subreddit. I see what you put on Twitter. I see what you put on my Facebook wall. And it means so much. It means so much. And a couple things I want to let you know. I'm really racking my brain. I'm thinking hard about how do I centralize that? What would you guys like to see serve as a place, the main hub where we can all talk together? Because there's a lot of fans of this show, and they all kind of say stuff at me. And it would be so nice to provide a place where we could all react to these conversations together. So I'm really thinking about that. And it's so cool. It's so cool. The recent episodes, the single mom cancer survivor, and so many people seem to be so really touched by her story, and not just her story, but the positivity. I think there were a lot of reactions I saw where people said she's more positive than I am, and literally everyone in her life has had cancer. It was so cool to see. And Sister Scorned, though, the episode before that, wow, people went back and forth. A lot of really interesting reactions to that. A lot of people saying, you know what, she seems to be making it about her, but it was not her relationship that fractured. And then some other people stepping in and saying, hey, I have been exactly where she is, and it is no picnic for the people in our position either. That one, it was very cool to see the debate erupt around that one. And then the episode before that, Fail Army Cop. One of the big things that people kept saying that I totally agree with. A lot of people saying this guy was a small town cop. I'd love to hear from a big city cop, and I would as well. So if you're out there, you're listening, you heard that episode, and you are a cop in a major metropolitan area, you want to let us know the differences between your life and the very generous caller who called us that one, I'd love to hear it. So let us know. And I just wanted to make sure I took a minute to let you guys know that I see and I read and I hear all the stuff you're saying, and I like it. I feel lucky that I get to read all your reactions. And also, guess what? I'm just going to put this out here, and I don't want to beg too much. If you haven't reviewed this show yet on iTunes and you're a fan of the show, just do it. Take a couple minutes and do it. And not just because it helps get the numbers up and visibility up, and that stuff is important. I won't lie about that. Also, though, the world to me is getting scarier. And everybody's getting scared. And I'm in this unique position where I hear from people from all different walks of life, and they got one thing in common. They all seem freaked out right now. Everybody seems frustrated. Everybody feels like they're being judged. And this show, I'd like to think we are all coming together and carving out a place where empathy is the priority. Listen to other people. Even if you don't necessarily love what they're saying, you're going to listen, you're going to swallow it, you're going to react to it, you're going to let it soak in. The world is terrifying. The world is so freaking weird right now and freaked out right now, and maybe this show is a little bit of empathy that we can all enjoy. And if you want to leave us a voicemail with a reaction to a show or your own story, if you are that big city cop, you want to talk to us, our voicemail number 802-392-3288. You can let us know what you want to talk about there. Pitch your story. Maybe we'll call you back. All right. That's all that stuff. Sorry it was a longer one. I wanted to let you guys know I see you out there reacting to this show, and it means the world to me. I'm addicted to it. Makes me feel so lucky to be a part of this thing, because I might be the person who's on this end of the mic, but none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys calling, reacting to it. I'm lucky. I feel almost like in many ways I am the smallest part of the success of this show. Okay, this week's episode is one of my favorites because, oh my God, this person lived through a really intense situation, really intense. The type of thing that a lot of us have probably only seen in movies or read about in books. She lived the real life version of it. She wound up in a cult. This is not a joke. I realized very quickly in this call that in no way is this a joke. In fact, the person's clearly she's still processing it a ton. A lot of it, there's moments that actually get a little concerning to me because she maybe mentions that she still can't remember certain things. And I almost felt like she was very much still, and you'll hear she is actively dealing with it. I had a little bit of trepidations about like, wow, do you even put this out into the world when this person is so clearly at the beginning of the healing process? But ultimately, I think the story is so fascinating, and she is so brave in sharing it, and also probably so many people can listen to it and see warning signs and see maybe some people around you who you can help, and just a really gripping story. Ultimately, I hope this caller continues to get more okay, and I thank you for sharing this story because it is a brave one, and I think you listeners out there are going to enjoy it, and can't wait to see what you think. Beautiful Anonymous, here we go.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm solidly okay.
Yeah. I think that's probably how we all are.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, this one sure
how are you today?
This one sure got grim fast, huh? Grim tone right at the start.
Do what? What was that?
This one has a grim tone right out of the gate between the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a big thing I want to talk about if you want to just go for it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
So I'm starting therapy Monday.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've tried it a couple times. I think I'm probably in a spot now in life where I think I'm ready to talk about some of these things. Maybe I could run a big one by you before I go in Monday.
Okay, well, I'm no therapist, nor do I claim to be, but
I know.
I'm happy to listen and
Sure.
just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess like 10 years ago is probably when I would say the worst thing ever happened to me. I was in a cult, which I know is kind of a lot. I was in high school. I didn't really grow up with religion, but I was dating a guy that was into it. Went to a Baptist church for a little while. That was normal. I at least had known what that was. We broke up, and then a couple years later, I started dating somebody else. And he was into church, but I didn't really know what kind of church. We were like in choir together in school. His mom had really long hair. She wore it in a bun. But I guess that didn't really strike me as strange at that point. I guess I don't really know how to put it into words. Eventually, I guess I discovered it was a cult.
So was the hair in a bun? Wait, was the hair?
Yeah, that like should have been a red flag.
Is that what like everybody did? Every female member of this cult have long hair in a bun?
Yes.
It's like a uniform.
They did.
Wow. Well, I've got a million questions.
Yeah.
Also going to tell you this. I'm fascinated to talk to you because I've always been fascinated by cults just on a personal level. So I might get a little giddy with my questions, which might not match up with the clearly traumatic nature of your personal experience. So
sure.
I do apologize for that. So So is it a religious based cult? Is it like an extreme sect of an existing religion? Is it its own thing? Does it have its own theology? What are we talking here?
So that's a great question. It's definitely a religious based cult. I ended up like years later when I was out of it and like in an okay headspace, I Googled it because I still wasn't sure what it was called. They never had a name for it.
What?
So I just kind of had to Google, there was no name for it. Like the meetings, they would call their services meetings. They would take place in houses, and a couple of different like hotel meeting conference rooms. So there was no like home church or anything.
How many people were in it?
Well, it depended. Like on Sunday mornings, it was just maybe 20 people maximum. It's just people from the town. Each fall, though, they would have these large conventions, which would be hundreds of people. And those would take place on like different farms and things like that.
On farms? Yeah, that's a cult. Yeah, you get everybody out on a farm. So yeah, talk me through this. Tell me about what this is. Tell me like what's the actual, what is it that you're actually getting into here?
Well, I mean, I guess, okay, so I'll go back to when I Googled it. I think they're called 2x2s. That's like a common name for it. I think probably what happened to me seemed like maybe an unusual case because I couldn't find out online anything about what happened to me, which was his family ended up putting me on a vitamin regimen, which just consisted of taking these different, I don't know, like 5 or 6 pills a day, which at the time seemed normal to me. They were just vitamins. I ended up losing about 20 pounds. I already only weighed about 100 pounds. So I got down to about 80 pounds. His mother gave me iodine drops, which ended up poisoning me. And I ended up in a hospital for about 2 weeks. So that's the bad stuff, I guess. I couldn't find anything about that online. It seems to be that maybe I just got really unfortunate with that cult.
Yeah. Oh, I have about 800 questions. So theology. I know iodine. I've read that that's a big thing in like the world of like the doomsday preppers. Like it's like an anti-radiation thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what. Like, how do you? And it sounds like so you're dating this guy. His whole family is involved in this. So you get dragged into this via your association with him. But does it start as something that is like that seems like Christianity, and then it gets twisted, or does it start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It starts with Christianity. Like their meetings, they spoke out of the normal Bible, so none of it was anything I hadn't really heard before. It was just like the outfits were different, and obviously they didn't have a church. That was weird. They didn't have a name for it. That was weird. But also at the time, I've tried to justify it over the years because I felt stupid, I guess, for letting that happen to me. Like I should have seen all these red flags and stuff, but at the time, my parents were going through like a really bad divorce. They weren't paying any attention to what was going on with me. So I don't know. Yeah. To answer your question, it started out to me, it didn't seem too crazy. They were reading out of the normal Bible, and I had seen that before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when does it, like, what are the warning signs? When does it start to twist? Like, looking back on it now, because again, I'll say this too, because I have read a lot about cults. I actually took a whole college class about cults, and there's very systematic ways in which Oh yeah, I did. I took a class. I was an American Studies major, so I took a lot of classes that just were a waste of my parents' money. And but I'm glad it now applies all these years later to this conversation. Like there are systematic ways in which cults break people down, suck them in further, and you're in too deep before you realize it. You've committed a lot. You've done things, and now you're in it, and you're isolated. And I don't think you should feel stupid. Is my point. And I want to thank you for telling me about this at all. But when you just said you feel stupid, I don't think you should, because I think that's a tactic that seems to me, from what I've read, one of the tactics people use. They get you to commit to certain things, and then you feel like you're in over your head. You feel dumb, so now you've got to stick with it. So I would say don't feel dumb about it. If just in the course of this phone call, at least, just know that cults suck people in, and it's systematic. It's by design. So all that being said, looking back on it, what are the red flags where it's like, oh, this isn't just Christianity in someone's house or a hotel meeting room? That's the red flag of like, when does it start to really get, for a lack of a better word, weird?
I mean, I'll say that I didn't know it was happening to me until I was well out of the hospital and well out of it that I was actually in a cult.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it until it was far too late. But looking back on it, like you said, it taking place in homes and stuff. I don't know. I guess his family wouldn't allow TVs in the home. There were no TVs in their houses. I remember I got the guy to go see a movie with me once, and that was like a big deal for him because he wasn't even allowed to do that, really.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a number of things that I just missed because I was blind with my love for him or whatever, but there were a lot of things.
And is there some sort of like guru? Is there like a figurehead of this cult? Some sort of charismatic person at the center of it, or no?
No, I don't remember there being like a point person, but I do remember actually the base being like overly elderly. It was a lot of old people. And I think it originated in Ireland because I remember actually the first meeting that I went to, it was held in like a hotel conference room. And then there were these two very, very elderly women with thick Irish accents speaking. And I remember not really being able to understand what they were saying. But yeah, there's no like figurehead, I don't think.
Wow. So it seems like effectively this is you fell into a situation where it sounds like it's a very extreme form of Christianity that was extraordinarily controlling to its members.
Yes.
Is that a fair baseline description?
Yes, absolutely. And you just reminded me, I remember when I was Googling it and found out the name of it. I think this is the right term for what they used, I would say, to brainwash me. It was like, I think it was called mind melding or something. It was just a very slow process over time that took place to kind of isolate me from my family, which was already happening anyway, like I said, because of the divorce.
Yeah.
And there towards the end, probably a month before I ended up in the hospital, I was actually living in his family's house. And I, to this day, don't remember how that happened.
Wow.
I don't remember how I ended up living there.
So they isolate you and separate you from your own family.
Yes.
Now you're living with this family. Are they like making you grow your hair out and put it in a bun and all that? Are you like matching the...
Well, my hair was already long, so they did take me shopping, so I ended up wearing some long skirts and things like that. But my hair was already long, so that was not anything they had to talk me into.
So, and how long ultimately were you sucked into this cult? How long was this your life?
I would say all in all, from beginning to end, probably a year and a half.
A year and a half you wind up. And how long are you living in this guy's house with his family?
Just a couple months at most. Just
a couple months. So this really built. So the first year of this is like you getting isolated from your family, sucked in further and further, and then it really gets go time. Do you think because you went to the hospital because they were giving you iodine, do you think if you hadn't gone to the hospital, do you think it would have stopped, or was that the thing that really stopped it in its tracks?
That's what stopped it in its tracks. It was, I'll say too, it was actually like a mental facility that I was taken to. Because I had a breakdown.
Yeah.
I think it was I wasn't sleeping at the time. I had lost all that weight. I just think partly I was malnourished, and then compounded on top of not sleeping with that, it was just a number of factors. And
were they not allowing you to sleep?
I ended up in a mental facility.
Or was that like your own anxiety, or was that like a designed thing?
No, I don't know. I know I was scared to sleep. I don't remember why, but I know that I was scared to go to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just want to have it on record for anybody who's listening. And again, thank you for talking to me about all this. I do want to say one thing that's very clear is you're like processing this is not even the word. You're still climbing out from under this, and that's very clear. And I want to be very sensitive, and I want to make sure everybody listening knows you're really putting yourself out there talking about this. There's no world in which I want to like exploit the fact that you are talking about this. I'm just going to keep asking questions.
Sure.
Sometimes people make fun of me for saying this often, but I think it's very warranted in this case. Like, if it hits a point where you're like, you know what, I don't even want to go there. Feel free more than ever with this call because it's very clear.
Okay.
And when did you may have said this, when did you get out of the hospital?
So that was about 10 years ago. And I've only started to talk about it within the past year or so.
Wow.
And like, I feel like I'm in an okay place to talk about it, but it still is very hard.
Yeah. Because you still,
but I can talk about it now without crying, which is like
good.
a big step for me. So
that's progress. Because I know when you say you weren't sleeping because you were scared and you can't remember why you're scared, that is truly concerning. And I'm very happy to hear that you're starting therapy on Monday. That's like, that's what therapy's for. Are there other things? Because I don't want to get too weird or grim, but again, I've read a lot about this, and I remember like isolating you from your actual biological family. Check. Controlling what you eat. Check. These are things commonly done in cults. Cults will very often try to arrange who's dating whom, who's sexually active with whom. These are all things that happen. It sounds like there was actual trauma going on if you've actually blocked out why you were scared. Do you like? Yeah. Do you? Are there other things like what was going on like day to day? What was life like in the cult? What were some of the rituals happening as you got in deeper?
I don't know if I would say there were rituals. I mean, I feel like the conferences were strange, like the ones that I mentioned where people would go on the farms, like each fall.
Yeah, what were those like?
That was a little strange. I mean, there would be a big tent set up, and that's where everybody would congregate, and they would have some speakers. And I sort of remember the opportunity for people to stand up and talk about things, and I remember feeling immense pressure to do that. But I don't remember what the topics were. It might have been like, which Bible verse means something to you? I don't really recall too much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've blocked out major stretches of this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's one thing I'm grateful for is that's my brain definitely has protected me from some things, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's...
go
for it.
Can I go back to something that you mentioned when you were checking off like the list that cults do? You mentioned like they keep track of who is sexually active with who.
Yeah.
So when I was Googling and trying to find out what happened to me, like that was also like a big step for me to try to figure it out. That actually happened a couple years later when I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to figure out what this cult was, how this happened to me, whatever. And I actually remember reading that some of the members, because like I said, it was like a big elderly base, they'll try to bring in younger members by taking the virginity of people. And I lost my virginity to that guy, and reading that was so heartbreaking to me because like to know that my first time was a tactic was horrible.
So you feel
I didn't know that was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they kept track. So it was interesting to hear you say that because that rings true to me.
Well, I'm sorry to bring up that painful memory. And when you
it's okay. I mean,
and when you read about that, you felt like you could look back on it and feel like, oh, that may have been a targeted thing that he was instructed to do on some level or trained to do on some level.
Yes. Yes.
So this guy really dangled the idea of love and intimacy to suck you into this thing. This was a thing that you were targeted for.
Yes. And
I'm sure you confided in him that your own family life was not going great at the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. So you were really...
you knew it all.
I don't want to... I don't know. I'm sure... I mean, you will unwrap this with a shrink far better than I can, but even in the slight amount of reading I've done, I hope you can be forgiving with yourself because this is... From the little I know, it sounds like this is what cults do. This is what cults do, and you shouldn't feel dumb about that. It's an evil, manipulative thing, and I'm sorry you had to go with that.
Thank you.
Wow, because it's odd. It's like in one sense, this phone call is about someone who joined a cult, but I think in an even more present and empathetic sense, it's about someone unwrapping stuff that happened to them 10 years ago. And that is not easy. And I'm so glad to hear that you're making efforts to do it in a real way. It's brave.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I just, I'm in a good spot now. I'm married. My husband's awesome. And I feel like I'm on stable enough ground to like actually deal with this. Cause I've tried seeing therapists over the past 10 years, but it never gets very far because I get scared knowing that conversation is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I just stop going.
Of course.
But now I feel like, okay, I'm ready. I can do this. If I can talk about it without crying, I can talk about it and talk through it.
That's cool. That's cool to hear. And I just know for a fact, there are therapists and psychiatric professionals who specialize in this as well. If this one doesn't work out, I want to put that in your head too. There's people who I think their training is to work with people who have been in this exact situation. So I hope if this one doesn't feel comfortable either, that you might look into that, because that is out there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I have a question. I wonder.
Thank you.
So when you went to the hospital, they'd been controlling your food. You lost 20% of your body weight. They're giving you weird vitamins. Who knows what those were? This is you're being manipulated. You're being controlled. When you go to the hospital, you have a mental break. You wind up in the hospital. Does someone in the hospital save you, or is it just, do they not come back because they know it hit a breaking point and it's going to get them in trouble? How does the hospital represent such a clean break?
So this is interesting. So the way I got to the hospital, and I still don't really know how this conversation happened, but I was at their house that day, and I remember the mental break is just what I'll call it. I remember it pretty well, just for that time, for that day. I remember not being able to read. I remember the letters looking like shapes, because I tried reading the Bible, which I guess is normal if you're in a cult. You try to read the Bible if you're feeling weird. So I remember the letters looking like shapes. I remember crying a lot. I remember feeling like there were a lot of, I don't know, I guess I would say double meanings to things. Like the world it didn't feel right to me. And I suspect that they recognized that because the neighborhood that they lived in happened to be across from where my dad worked at the time. Because like a couple hours later, my dad walked through the door and took me out of there.
Wow.
So what I think happened is the parents must have seen what was happening to me, got scared, went and told my dad to come get me, and he did. So then my dad took me to his house. I stayed there for the night. I remember getting to his house. We didn't have a great relationship at the time because of the divorce. Like, I kind of blame him for a lot of that because he did some shitty things. He like cheated on my mom, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he came to get me. I remember being scared to go into his house because I thought it was the Twin Towers. Like, that's the kind of mental state that I was in. I didn't want to go inside my father's house because I thought it was the Twin Towers. So I remember staying there that night. And then the next morning, my dad drove me to that hospital. And that's how I got admitted. And then I was there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then I guess, I don't know if afterwards, I think maybe my dad probably forbid me to ever see those people again. But I do remember that the guy emailed me, the guy I was seeing. He had sent me an email saying, like, I miss you. I feel like, my other half is gone, blah, blah, blah. And I only remember seeing him one more time, which was when he broke up with me, oddly enough.
Wait, what are you talking
and
about?
And then I didn't see him again.
You guys were technically still dating?
I guess. I mean, I just had gone away for 2 weeks in a hospital. I don't even know if he knew where I was. I have no idea. I just remember getting an email from him after I was out of the hospital. My dad forbid me to see him. And I remember seeing him one last time. I don't remember how long after the hospital it was, but then he broke up with me.
Wow.
And then I didn't see him again.
That's like the craziest year and a half of life that nobody ever expected, huh?
Yeah, pretty bad.
You start dating a thing, you'd start dating a guy, and then, next thing you know, you weigh 20 pounds less and you're convinced your dad's house is the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
intense. I am so sorry you had to go through that.
Thank you.
What's your relationship with your parents like after that? We'll get the answer to that question and so many more. It's such a fascinating call when we come back. But in the meantime, I think we can all agree in these intense calls, you need a break. And what better than to hear from the many sponsors that have products and services that allow me to bring you this show in the first place. So we'll be back with more of that very fascinating call. But in the meantime, sponsors. I tell you guys, I got the gym. The gym's at the end of my block. It's convenient. I walk down to the gym, but I get intimidated. I'm down there. You got these people that are like yelling as they power lift, and then you got all these people in the skimpy clothes making me feel bad about myself. These people are obsessed. What happens to people like me, regular people who just want to be more fit, want to just get it going? I'll tell you what a great way to do it. A great new fitness tracker for everybody, the Huawei Fit, changing the way normal people like you and me work out. I'm wearing one right now. It doesn't matter how big you are, how old you are, how often you work out. You do it. It's lightweight. It's stylish. People keep complimenting me on it, not even knowing it's a fitness tracker. You exercise scientifically without being weighed down by your phone. You can build in custom plans. It gives you training analysis, monitors your heart rate and your sleep. You can program it to track your running, swimming, cycling, training, walking, all sorts of stuff. And you're working out. It sends you your texts. It lets you know when you're getting Twitter alerts. So that way you don't have to stop, pick up your phone. And super long battery life. This thing goes 6 days. I just had it on for 6 days. I didn't even need to charge it for 6 days. Enhance your sports and fitness experience. You don't even have to break the bank to do it. Visit Huawei.fit/anonymous people. That is HUAWEI.FIT. HUAWEI.fit/anonymous people. Start creating your own beautiful workout stories. This time of year, everybody's traveling, and you can't cram all the magazines you want into your carry-on bag. But now you can with Texture, the new app that gives you unlimited access to 200 plus magazines. Texture's gone beyond delivering just the magazine itself. They've made it easy to find and enjoy the articles you want to read with daily recommendations, interactive features, videos, more. And I'm talking a wide array. You like Entertainment Weekly? Sports Illustrated, National Geographic. You thinking news? You want Time? You want Time magazine? What do you want? You want Forbes? You think you're a financial person? Rolling Stone, a music, whatever you want, they got it. Texture is also searchable. You mark what you like, check out back issues, view bonus video content. They even curate articles and magazines just for you or whoever you're giving Texture to this year. Why on earth would you subscribe to just a couple magazines when you could have all of the best ones on your smartphone or tablet all the time for way less? And check this out, really kind of the people at Texture. They're offering my listeners a 14-day free trial when you go to texture.com/beautiful. No reason to not check it out right now. It is 14 days. Try Texture for free when you go to texture.com/beautiful. That is texture.com/beautiful. Thank you so much to all the sponsors who allow this show to happen. And now, relationship with parents, relationship with self. Let's go. What's your relationship with your parents like after that?
That happened when I went off to college. I was only in college for a month and a half. I dropped out because of my parents' divorce. My mom wasn't handling it well, so I was like 5 hours away at college. So I went back home to make sure she was okay. And that's when this kind of like steamrolled. It was after that time that I ended up living in his parents' house, all this stuff. So now, 10 years later, my relationship with my mom is fine. She's remarried. I'm getting to a better place with my dad. I still think I'm pretty pissed about the divorce. He remarried 2 weeks after my parents' divorce was final. I didn't even know he was seeing anybody, but my sister was at that wedding, and I found out later that he even got married. So it's like a whole thing. That was all happening while I was being sucked into this.
Wow. So your dad pulled some shit, it's fair to say.
He pulled some shit. some shit. Yeah.
But then at the same time, it sounds like in this incident, in a real moment of truth in your life, he did come and rescue you. There was at least one day
yeah.
where he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he did.
I got to tell you, I got your back really hard. I do. And I'm so psyched to hear you say that you're going to see people and talk about this. And I tell you what, you're going to get your money worth out of your therapy. You're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah.
Oh my God, your therapist is going to have a lot of homework to do. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So have you and your dad ever talked about that day where he came and got you?
No.
You've never talked about it?
Mm-mm. He has once apologized to me about the divorce and like how all that went down. He apologized to me once.
Right.
That's like it.
So it's fair to say your issues with your dad run so deep that the time he rescued you from 18 months in an oppressive cult that was slowly killing you physically doesn't even come up on the list of things that you need to get to just yet.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
18 months in a cult, he shows up at their compound and rescues you. That's not even on the list of things you've gotten to yet. That is.
I didn't until you say it. It never even really registered me that you're right. He did save me from this one thing, but I guess to me it was more like a he had to do it. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put any words in your dad's mouth or connect any dots. I was not there. I have to imagine I haven't met these people. It doesn't sound like their house is the easiest to walk into and say, hey, give me my daughter right now. I mean, whatever that day was for him, I'm sure it was at the very least pretty fucking weird on his end too, at the very least. And I don't mean to be
that's a good point.
I don't mean to boil it down to simplistic terms. I am way over my head talking about this stuff in any real way, but but wow.
Yeah, I've never really considered it from his point of view, actually.
And do you still live in the same area? Are you still in the same town and all that?
Oh God, no. I live in a totally different state.
Good. You got away from them. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even like going back to my hometown anymore. And I think it's probably because of all that.
I would imagine. Oh, probably? You think it's probably? Oh, it's probably. I don't like going back to my hometown anymore. It's probably because of that time I spent 18 months being starved and manipulated by an evil cult. You know,
I guess that makes sense.
either that, or I decided I was more of a city person. One or the other. Either I outgrew the small town life, or the vicious, brutal cult that drugged and manipulated me. Either one.
Yeah, I don't like going there.
Yeah, no, avoid it like the plague. You have earned the right.
Yeah,
earned the right. Wow.
Yeah, it sucks though. My dad does still live there, so
yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. We're supposed to go for Christmas this year, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's I get it. I bet even when you have to visit, you keep those trips real quick, huh?
Oh yes, we do. We do.
Yeah.
We're pretty in and out.
And you said you have a husband now.
I do.
That's awesome.
He's great.
That's cool. How long have you guys been married?
3.5 years now. We'll be married 4 years in April.
Nice. Congrats. Does he know about all this? Does he know about this blip in your life?
He does. We were probably living together for 2 years before I told him.
Yeah. Oh, living together. So you dated a while, lived together.
Yes.
And wow, I'm very interested in that. If that's okay for me to ask about, like, what was was his reaction revealing? Like, did he have a moment where he was like, "Yeah, I've always sensed there was something that you needed to get off your chest," or was he like, "What the fuck?" Like, I would imagine
he was more on like the "what the fuck" fence, but he was also angry for me. He was angry that it happened, angry that those people did that, and he handled it very well. Because I just remember being, I was still in the very embarrassed state of mind about it. You know, I dealt with so much embarrassment about it because I just felt like it was all my fault. Like, how in the world could I miss this?
It's not
How
your
could I miss
fault.
this?
That's what they do.
I know.
That's what they do. You read it. I mean, you are clearly, I'm sure you're not in any sort of place where you're ready to go pick up a book and read about how cults work. But I've actually read like a ton of them. I have. And I'm telling you, you got nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, this happens to people for a reason. And it's because these groups of people are very good at what they do. And what they do is manipulating people in evil ways, and they get you to participate in shit where you're like, what the fuck was I just a part of? Now I'm in this, and I can't tell anybody else about it because it was a little weird and a little intense. So I guess I better go with this. And I mean, your mind is blocking some of this stuff out. You don't have to be embarrassed of that. You say your husband was mad for you. Everybody in the control room started nodding in agreement. When you said your husband was mad on your behalf, everybody's mad on your behalf. These people really messed with you. It's not okay.
Yeah, when a couple years after I told him, I was able to tell some best friends, and they had the same response. They were all pretty mad. So
yeah,
that made me feel a little better.
But you got nothing to be embarrassed about. They cast a wide net.
Thanks.
You were a young kid, divorce, broken home, this sense of responsibility towards your mom that you didn't really, I imagine, deserve as a college freshman, the sense of anger towards your dad. There's a split there. They sense it. They make you fall in love. Now, next thing you know, you got your hair in a bun. You're in a hotel lobby going, how the hell did I wind up here? What am I doing with this unfashionable skirt on? What happened? 8 months ago, I was drinking at my first frat party, and now I got on this very unfashionable skirt with my head in a bun, and these people are making me drink iodine from a bottle. What happened? It's not your fault. You're the last person whose fault that is, actually, in that whole story.
Yeah. I ended up, this is something I've actually thought about. I ended up getting cancer a couple years ago. Thyroid cancer. Like, well, it was like one of the best ones you can have. Like, I didn't have to do chemo or anything. I just had to have like radiation therapy. But I feel like iodine messes with your thyroid. Because I know it does. Like, when I was going through the treatments, I had to go on like a low iodine diet.
Yeah.
To prep for the medicine, like getting soaked in my body or whatever. So part of me wonders if what they did to me ended up causing that, because I don't have a history of that in my family or anything. I don't know. It's something that's concerning, I guess.
For sure. I mean, no one listening to this would be surprised if that was the case. And I'll tell you, sometimes these calls here on Beautiful Anonymous, they're really fun, and that's nice. And then sometimes they're really intense, and that's okay too. I like those too. I enjoy them. I enjoy everybody. Everybody's got a story to tell. I'm happy I've stumbled into this situation where I am a vehicle for other people to tell their stories. I like that. But I will tell you, sometimes things like this come up where it's like, oh, you were already the person in the cult. Why do you also have to get cancer? That's not cool. It's just not cool.
Yeah.
It's like, and here's the kicker. I also got thyroid cancer. Some of the calls, it's just, it's rough. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
But you've recovered? You're in remission and all that?
Yes. Like, the thing about thyroid cancer is the thing the doctors say is the best one you could hope for. Which is good. Like, I had to have my thyroid removed, had surgery. It was pretty much a whole year ordeal. Like, it got discovered in January, and I was done with everything in December. And I just have to get checkups basically every 6 months. But all in all, it should be gone forever.
Well, that's good.
That was still, something I struggled with, though, is the doctors were like, this is the best one you could have. That's great. But I still... Like, I felt guilty because of that, because anytime I would, I guess, feel bad during the cancer, I would think, well, I'm not having chemo, so I should be fine. Like, I should, I guess, be grateful. So I kind of struggle with that a bit. But it was really hard. I know that it's all relative, and I know that it's probably okay to not enjoy cancer.
Yeah,
that was still pretty rough. I would say, though, I've thought a lot about it. I still think my experience with the cult and everything was worse than having the cancer.
Yeah, I bet.
I would say that definitely takes the cake.
Well, at least cancer is at least a thing that sometimes nature just hands people a really raw deal with that one, and you can see that the cult feels like such an outlier. Have you ever like run into anybody else who used to be a member of it? Have you ever passed anybody on the street who you recognize from it, or no, never?
No. I have seen people out and about with the long skirts and the buns, and it does make me nervous, but I also know, I'm pretty sure that Pentecostals dress that same way. But it still freaks me out whenever I see it.
Wow.
But I mean, because I moved, I don't ever run into anybody.
Yeah. And I don't want you to reveal too much, but are you from a part of the country that does kind of have a little bit more of an intense religious fervor than the heathen Northeast, where I call home?
I was from Kentucky. I was living in Kentucky during the time. You
were living in Kentucky. Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's like a little.
So I would say it's pretty religious.
Yeah, and there's like a tradition. I know in the Appalachian region, that's where the the people who handle snakes sometimes are in that area. There's a few different intense Christian sects from that area. Wow.
Yeah.
And did you ever call the cops or anything? Or because here's what's one of the astounding things to me is it really does sound like you start dating this guy. 18 months, 18 months later, shit gets so fucked up that your mind breaks. Your dad comes and gets you.
Yes.
And it sounds like now, 10 years later, you're ready to let out a breath and start talking about it. That's what it sounds like. Did you ever call the cops? Did you ever anything like that? Or was it just 18 weird months of life and you've never really dealt with it?
Do you mean like right afterwards? Did I call the cops on them?
In any way? Did you ever reach out to any authorities or alert anybody to the presence of this?
No, I didn't.
You went to the hospital and then you were like, as you rebuilt your life, you were like, I am moving on. We are hitting the reset button and I'm leaving that in the past and I'm running away from it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was something I shoved down for a really long time.
Yeah. I get that.
Like I said, 2 years later was when I was finally ready to even Google it. I think it was just, whoa, I just got out of this hospital. I'm going to just shove it down.
And what's that? So 2 years, that's, that is so intense. And when you get out of the hospital, here's where are you living? Who are you hanging out with? Because I would imagine this means you haven't really seen any of your friends in 18 months. You haven't seen your family by and large in 18 months. What's that reacclimation like?
It gets a little hazy for me.
Wow.
I was living back with my mom for a little while. Let me try to think of the year in my mind to see where I was working. I was working at Starbucks. Oh, that's right. I had interviewed at Starbucks.
Gotta say, didn't expect Starbucks to factor into this story at all. My head's spinning a little bit from that stunning revelation. I think I need a break, and the best way to take a break is to hear about the many products and services that our fine sponsors bring to us. Enjoy. Holidays are here. That's a festive, joyous time, right? Except when you're at the post office and it's packed and everybody's got 19 packages in front of you and everybody's grumpy. Okay, and if you're running a business, you got to get business packages out, mailings out. You do not have time for this. You don't have time for the post office right now. Here's what you do. You sign up for Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, you avoid all of that hassle. You don't have to go to the post office during the holiday season. Because I'm telling you, everything you can do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. And I have found this out. My wife and I have been using this. You buy and print official U.S. postage using your own computer and printer. You just hand it off to the mailman. Sign up now. Within minutes, you can start buying and printing your own postage. It is extraordinarily easy, very convenient. I'm using it all the time now. It's so nice. I have mentioned on the show before, my wife, she's got a bunch of bands, T-shirts, LPs, all this stuff, different sizes, shapes, weights. Stamps.com make it so easy. Right now, sign up for Stamps.com. Use my promo code BEAUTIFUL for this special offer. 4-week trial. $110 bonus offer, including postage and a digital scale. Digital scale's cool. It plugs right into the computer. So easy to use. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in beautiful. That's Stamps.com. Enter beautiful. Thank you so much to our sponsors. And now let's hear the rest of this gripping call.
Oh, that's right. I had interviewed at Starbucks. I was wearing a long skirt, hair in the bun, and I was going through the interview process when I ended up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got out, they had held my job for me because my dad had called them and lied and said I was in a car wreck. So they had held my job. So when I was out of the hospital, I do remember that. I haven't thought about that forever. So that
I am sorry to laugh. I am so sorry to laugh.
It's fine.
So
I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. So
well, I just want to.
Yeah. So I ended up working at Starbucks.
Because just the image in my head, what it sounds like to me, what you're describing is a situation where you interview at Starbucks. You're wearing what can only be described as garb. You're wearing garb, the garb of a cult.
Yep.
You have your hair up in a specific way. You're wearing an outfit that does not match with modern times, it sounds like.
Correct.
You disappear for 2 weeks, and you go back.
Yep.
You're working at the Starbucks, and now are you just like in jeans? Are you just like? Are you
yeah. I guess I was. I don't remember what I was wearing, but I'm sure I was probably back to pants. I don't know.
And then everybody's just like, hey, good to see you again. And you're like, yeah, great. And am I on register? Am I on the machines right now? Or?
They probably just thought, like, that's how I dressed up for interviews.
Whoa. So they're probably like, this seems like a hard-working person. It was weird that she dressed for the interview like she was at Colonial Williamsburg, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you just move on with your life and you just work at Starbucks and live with your mom?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, they give you insurance. That's cool.
They do. It's good insurance.
Is it? I've always heard they're cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I worked there for a couple years.
I like knowing that the one source of stability and strength that bridged the gap between your intense time in a cult and the shaky recovery zone was solid employment from the fine folks at America's most prominent coffee chain, Starbucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was probably just, I don't know. I must have been in denial because I really don't remember like that first year after. Like, I just know where I was employed. Like, that's one of the big things I remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got a lot to sort out. My friend.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But it sounds like you say you got a good husband. He's in your corner. You got good friends now.
Mm-hmm. Great friends.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
You're going to go see a shrink. I think that's really a good thing.
Yeah.
They're going to talk it out with you. They might put you on pills, not iodine, actual medicine.
Anything with that, yeah.
Actual medicine.
That's the thing is, like, I've had, like, pretty bad anxiety over the past few years. And, you know, some of it I chalk up to just, like, being anxious about work or, you know, financial situations, but it's probably all that other stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere deep in not even that. Yeah. Actually, I'm not even going to say deep. I'm sure somewhere not even that far under the surface are the very clearly many unreconciled feelings that came along with this really traumatic situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the appointment Monday, but I'm a little nervous, but I know it's for the best, and
I really hope it goes well.
It's been a long time coming.
I hope you enjoy it. I tell you, I've had a couple shrinks in my life, and I walked away from it for a stretch. And my first shrink, I was like, I don't like this guy. This guy's just kind of a pill, you know, as my mom would say, he's kind of a pill. My second shrink, I love her. She's a kook, but I love her. She knows she's a kook. She listens to the show. She knows she's a kook, and I love it. And I love it, and I love it. She does things her way. She has my back, and I hope you'll find somebody like that, even if it's not this particular person. You find somebody who's got your back hard, knows what they're talking about, gives you good treatment. That's what I found, and I'm very lucky for it.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, that's cool. I just have this image. I just have this image of like a woman in a bun and a crazy dress going like, and now you must take your vitamins. And now it is time for you to take your vitamins. Was it like that? Did it get?
Yeah, like it wasn't like, I mean, I guess, so she was in holistic medicine. She was into that stuff.
Okay.
She didn't have a job or anything. She just like would read books about it all the time. And I guess the guy that I was dating was given penicillin when he was a baby, and he ended up being allergic to it, and he almost died as a baby. So like they swore off Western medicine and like went into holistic stuff. And so he had been on these vitamins forever, for years. So for me, I was like, well, if he's fine, then I'll be fine. But the iodine drops was where it varied. He wasn't on those.
Oh, this is unsettling. This is unsettling, and I'm sorry you had to go through it.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun now? What do you do for fun these days? You're like really into
these days. Well,
into like go-karts? Like I just want there to
love
be
a good go-kart.
I just want to hear about something in your life that's straight up just fun. Like what do you do for fun? You love a go-kart.
I love go-karts. I do go to a lot of comedy shows, so I'm super into that.
Good.
I have a great dog. She's super fun.
What kind
I
of
like
dog?
hanging out with her. She is a little mutt. She's mostly German short-haired pointer. So she like weighs 30 pounds. She's beautiful. She's like black and white spotted.
That's cool.
She's a great dog.
Nice.
She'll be 6 this year.
Yeah.
So she's cool to hang out with. So I do have a lot of fun.
That's good.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever go back to school?
No, I didn't. I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, when I was originally going, I was going for music education. I wanted to be a choir teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Because I pretty much since 5th grade, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And it didn't work out. And now I mean, that's not even close to anything I want to do now. So I feel like I've made it this far without a degree. I'm probably okay. Don't really have like a hankering desire to go to school. I am sad that I missed out on the college experience. I will say that. But I mean, if that hadn't have happened, if let's say that I was never in a cult and I continued going to college, I would have never met my husband. I would never be where I'm at now if that all had worked out anyway.
Yeah.
So I kind of made peace with the fact that I didn't get to go to school.
You wound up where you were supposed to, and you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you kept it there, kept it realistic, because a lot of times you'll hear things, people will be like, you know what, had some tough times, but I wound up where I was. And then they'll add this phrase where they go, and I look back and I'm like, wow, well, it turns out that was the best thing that ever happened for me. Fuck that in your case. Not the best thing that ever happened to you. You're not going there. We're not going there.
Yeah.
You wound up with your husband, and therefore we can reconcile the fact that you walked a very grim, strange path to get there. There's no world in which it's like, all right, actually, I'm happy you went down that way. Nope. The 2x2s.
Nope.
The 2x2s sunk their claws into you. I hope I don't get yelled at by a bunch of 2x2s on Twitter now. I don't know anything about them. But if their behavior extends beyond this family you dealt with, then I got no problem. I got no problem with the 2x2s, knowing that I have some major concerns with their methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
And can we be honest? If you're going to be a cult, at least get a church. At least have some compound.
Like
you don't even have a compound? You're renting a room at the Ramada? You're renting a room at the Ramada? What a weak-ass cult. At least get a compound.
Yeah.
If you can't have a church, you at least have a compound. Come on.
Yeah, it was really hard to Google them because they don't have a name. Like I would ask him, what's this called? And he's like, you'll find out, or just keep coming. And
so you're not even...
Never a name.
So to be fair, in case anyone from this organization does, you're not even positive it's the 2x2s. That's just your hunch based on the research you've done.
Based on the research, I'm 100% sure it's them, just because it lines up with everything except for the vitamins, like the holistic stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, which I do think was probably just his family kind of thing, everything else lines up.
And
I was able to Google it because they would call people friends. Like they would introduce me in the meetings as a friend. So I was able to kind of like Google meetings at houses, friends, and eventually got to the 2x2s and read everything. I was like, oh, this is exactly it.
And they do have a presence in the area where you were raised? You found that online or no?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I looked like regionally or anything, but I'm sure that they do. I know it was like it's a nationwide thing.
So this vitamin thing, it's like you didn't just wind up in a cult. You wound up with a particularly crazy family in a cult.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you on Facebook and all that?
I am. Yes.
Yeah. And is there always a party that's like, oh, I hope I don't get a Facebook request from one of these crackpots? Are you just like bracing yourself for that day?
I think because I'm on there with my married name.
Yeah.
Like I used to have one under my maiden name, and I deleted that. And then now I have one with my married name. I don't think they would be able to. I mean, they probably could, but I'm not super concerned. Yeah. I have a feeling they've probably scrubbed it from their family history.
Yeah.
And I say that because, like, I actually remember the guy's phone number.
Really?
I don't know if it's because we dated for so long. Yeah, I still have his number memorized. I actually reached out to him last year. I texted him.
You did?
And I said, yeah, I did. I felt like.
And you're sharing this 51 minutes in?
Time.
Wow. Talk. You got to talk.
I texted him and I was just like, I just wanted to know what his thoughts were on it. You know, if he even knew what happened to me, because I don't know if he does. And, you know, I said, hey, it's me. I feel like we should talk. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? He was very casual. And I was like, you know, it's fine. I live away now. I'm married. And he made a joke about also being married. And I said, I feel like we should talk about this. Do you want to talk about what happened? And he brushed it off. And I think he made another joke about like doing the dishes for your husband, like asking if I did that or something. It was a weird, like trying to make some sort of joke about being married. And
whoa.
I was so jarred by the fact that he didn't respond to the issue that I never wrote back. Because I just feel like they must have, I don't know.
I know what you're saying.
I feel like they don't talk about it.
And it's like proof. It's like proof that something happened and nobody wants to deal with it.
Yes.
Chills.
So I don't know. I gave up.
Yeah. And you know what? I think,
and that was,
and I don't know if you need to give up so much as, you know what I would say? And again, layman's opinion here. I'm no expert. I don't know that you need to deal with that on your own via text message either. You know what I mean? You need a support system to have your back and help you walk through that.
Right.
I think.
I think reaching out to him was a really bad call. Like I just felt, it was right after I had talked about it kind of publicly for the first time. And I was just having all these emotions about it. I was really reconciling with it. And I don't know. I just felt like I needed like maybe a little bit of closure or something because,
of course.
It was such a huge thing. And I don't know. I regret reaching out, but
nah, I don't know.
I'm glad I no longer feel the need to.
Yeah. And if you do feel that need, it'll happen in time, and especially with your support system looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it all works out. I hope that
Thank you.
There's a part of me that has this fantasy where it's like, I hope you get revenge. I hope you make that guy watch all kinds of TV someday. I hope you make that guy watch all kinds of TV. You make him watch you make him watch the Kardashians. You make him watch Honey Boo Boo. Just the worst TV. The TV he really fears. You make him watch all the TV.
Oh, that'd be great.
Make him watch the Chris Gethard Show. That's the one they're really trying to hide. That's the one, the 2x2s. The 2x2s don't want to take on my...
That's the best one.
Nah, the Chris Gethard Show, the 2x2s don't want you seeing that. The truth is out there. No, of course, I managed to somehow squeeze a plug into your tale of woe. I'm a terrible man. I'm a terrible man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I'm out of it. I'm glad I'm in a good place. I'm glad I'm ready to deal with it.
Yeah.
Although I'm nervous, I know that it needs to happen, and
Yeah.
maybe my anxiety will get better because of it.
Well, that's incredible. I want you to know
kinda
that
what I'm
is
hoping for.
incredibly inspiring. It's incredibly inspiring. It
Thanks.
is.
I can't take compliments very well, but thank you.
It's true. I mean, it's 10 years out. It's this stuff that's still bubbling under the surface, and you're saying it's time I got to actually get in the trenches and deal with this. That is very inspiring.
I'm just glad. I'm glad I'm ready.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm glad you got there. It's a fight to even get there. And now you're going to get in and do the work. I think it's super cool.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Of course. Got about 4.5 minutes left.
Oh, 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. This is the part of the show where we shared all kinds of intense personal things, and now we just have 4 minutes of chit chat. It's very, as everybody knows, anybody who listens to this show knows. I don't know. Is there anything else? Anything else you want to let me know about?
I don't know. Staying in the city for Thanksgiving. I'm excited about that. Not going home. No, sir.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is your dad still married to that girl he married 2 weeks after the divorce?
Yes, he is. And I really do like her. She's very nice. I don't really get along with my step siblings.
Yeah.
I'm certain that they all, part of the other reason I don't really want to go home for the holidays is I know that my family voted differently than I did.
Yeah. Say no
so
more.
I'm kind of dreading that whole thing. So.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving for a lot of people this year. I think there's a lot of people bracing themselves for an awkward Thanksgiving this year. So you left
Yep.
you left where you grew up in Kentucky and you went to a city. Are you still in Kentucky?
No, I moved away to that city, still living in the city.
Yeah, so you're
like my husband and I got married. We met in Kentucky and then we moved to where I'm living now, like 2 weeks after we got married. We were both like, let's go.
Out of Kentucky.
So
you're gone.
Out of Kentucky.
And now you're in a city where you got tons
We've
of
done enough.
Yeah. Comedy show, you got comedy shows, you got stuff to do.
Tons of them, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I feel very lucky that I got to hear this story today. It was very intense, but you're very strong, and I feel very lucky that I got to talk to you.
I really appreciate you listening and helping me not feel embarrassed, because I think that's one of the hardest parts for me is
I'm telling you.
Trying not to feel so dumb.
I'm telling you. There's a lot of weirdos like me in this world who are obsessed with true crime and cults. My wife goes nuts. She's like, why do you watch all this true crime stuff? It's grim. It's horrible. But now the knowledge has come into play because I'm telling you, you got nothing to be embarrassed about. These cults are by design. Anybody who studied this stuff, and I took one class on it in college, and I already am like, whoa, this is exactly what Professor Rockland told me about back at Rutgers in circa 1999, and I'm even seeing it. They know exactly how to play people, and they know who to target. They know what to do, and you got nothing to be embarrassed about because it's real, actual evil, and they wield it in maniacal ways, but they're smart about it. You got nothing to be embarrassed about. Nothing. Thank
you.
People have things to be embarrassed about in this world. Big time. This is not one of them. It's not one of them.
I really appreciate that.
Of course.
I will keep that with me.
It's good. It's true. It's just the truth. Just the truth. There's actually, I remember reading, there's like 15 things that all cults do, and you named like 6 of them in the first 10 minutes of this phone call. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not, you can't be worried about this. These crazy Irish fundamentalists, they sunk the hooks in, and it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I think just conditions were perfect for them to storm in on my life at that time.
Sounds like it. And I'm so glad you got out. I am so glad you got out.
Thank you. Me too. Way out. Totally different state.
We got 15 seconds left. I know immediately after this, I'm going to read everything on Wikipedia about the 2x2s personally.
Yeah. You'll learn a lot, probably. Maybe I'll give it another Google.
Well, I'm glad that you taught me face-to-face, not face-to-face, one-on-one, what it was like. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, caller. Thank you. I am so happy that it sounds like you're relatively okay. And I'm glad you got your husband, your friends, your new life, your new city. It's so cool. And I'm amazed. I'm amazed that you were able to tell us about all that we even had some laughs together along the way. Thank you for opening up. Thank you to the listeners out there who support this thing. Remember, if you want to, help spread word of this podcast and spread word of the idea of the empathy and listening that comes along with it, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Move it up the charts. Really helps. So important right now. I want to thank the Reverend John Delore. I want to thank Greta Cohn, Jared O'Connell in the booth, Shellshag, the intro music. People ask me all the time, who does the music for Beautiful Anonymous? It's Shellshag. My friends, get all their stuff. Want to know more about me? ChrisGethard.com and my off-Broadway show produced by Judd Apatow, CareerSuicideShow.com. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week with more Beautiful Anonymous.
Kiss me face to
Next time on Beautiful Anonymous, what is it like to grow up an African American in Appalachia? What's it like to be an African American today? What's it like to be an artist today? What's it like to be in the middle of a world that's progressively more confusing for all of us, despite your race? Those questions and answers and many, many, many more next time on Beautiful Anonymous.
I basically was interested in talking about where I grew up and you know how that sort of has played out over the last couple of years and throughout my life. So I grew up in a part of the country that is very rural. Without I can actually reveal that it's Appalachia, and I am a Black woman growing up in Appalachia. That was a really traumatic experience. It was pretty. Yeah, it was a difficult experience. I think I actually looked up the current data on the population. I think in 2000 it was, the area was 91% white.
That's next time on Beautiful Stories from Anonymous People. Hello, I'm Chris Gethard, and here with me is dream analysis expert
Gary Richardson.
And we're here to give you a taste of a brand new podcast called In Your Dreams, presented exclusively by the fine folks at Casper.
We listen to the wildest, weirdest dreams submitted to us by you, our listeners, and we do our best to figure out just what those dreams could possibly mean.
I look over the side of my bunk bed, and there are Huey Lewis and the News.
You're saying this person might have interests in style and fashion specifically. You can tell that from that voicemail.
99% certainty.
Plus, we'll be joined by some very special guests.
The word mortality comes to mind.
Mortality?
Blood.
Bloodtality.
Subscribe to In Your Dreams right now on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
This has been an Earwolf production, executive produced by Scott Aukerman and Chris Bannon. For more information and content, visit earwolf.com.